few short weeks away, and Rumpure Sports is gearing up for the season with the best deal in DFS.
For a limited time only, we are offering new members a 15% discount for the life of their subscription, including SaberSim subs. Simply use the promo code NFL15 when subscribing to take advantage of this great deal before our prices go up.
And at RPS, we don't just give you access to one sport. When you subscribe to our premium service, we give you access to all of our content, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and so much more.
And we're not going to charge extra for access to our preseason content either. Our memberships include all of our content, including the NFL preseason. The best DFS players in the industry give you access to their core plays and slate strategies for every sport and for every slate. Simplify your lineup building process by plugging in picks directly from the top players in the world. Watch our premium live streams to gain a huge edge on the competition. Our guys are live up to lock for the biggest slates, walking you through their last-minute decisions, analyzing breaking news and injury alerts for the major sports.
Again, for a limited time only, you can access our industry-leading DFS content for 15% off our already low price. SaberSim packages are included, so sign up today using the promo code NFL15 for 15% off your subscription for life and start building winning lineups today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rumpure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. It's me, Mangone. I'm here with Glock. We're breaking it all down for you guys here, talking about this slate. Glock, we were talking pre-show. We got a nice, interesting slate. A lot of different options to discuss, some gross ones, some good ones. And hey, we got the UFC going on. I know you love to talk about the UFC as well. So tons of sports going on over here at Rumpure. If you haven't signed up yet, use that code NFL15. Get you 15% off your first payment for life. And hey, you want to lock yourself into that payment because hey, prices could be going up soon. You never know. So that's why you want to get that locked in. So get in there, use that code NFL15, get you 15%. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video too as well. We appreciate it over here. And when you subscribe, you get notified when we go live and get to see all the content coming up. And let me tell you, we got tons of NFL content coming for you where you want to be notified when we're live during the week. That way you don't miss out on any shows. Glock, let's head on over to you. How is it going? And what's your thoughts here on this slate?
Yeah, it's going good. Just finished my MMA lineups. And yeah, I mean, there's action everywhere, right? We got preseason NFL going. The Chiefs are playing right now. And yeah, I think everything's going great. I think we had a member last night in NFL preseason that put in a single bullet and got second in the big GPP. So, you know, our NFL content's already being pumped out and being top notch. So love that. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk this slate for sure. I mean, it's a 9-gamer, I believe. And the pitching options are, you know, you just go down the list, you know, you have some big names, but, you know, they do have some tough matchups. And, you know, I'm excited to break it down with you. And obviously, yes, you know, your favorite sport, UFC, MMA. I think you should definitely play this slate because the first fight could be like the total nuts. And I know you're a big fan of being dead or being alive from the very first fight. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to break this slate down with you. And then also, you know, after the show, locking in my MLB team and then, you know, enjoying UFC for the night.
No, Glock, there's no chance I'm playing UFC tonight. You understand if when I play the first fight, I always lose on the first one. It doesn't matter. It could be you fighting against like, you know, JSU. And if I pick you, like JSU will find a way to lose, even though he'd beat you. It's just how it goes. So I cannot mess with that fight, Glock. I'll let you guys have some fun. I have a couple wagers in, so I'll watch fights here and there. But overall, we got all the sports here for you guys. Glock mentioned it. Preseason NFL. If you guys want to play some preseason NFL, jump right in. I mean, we got a slate locking in 2 hours. So I'm sure we got tons of content up for you guys. I know that we had a nice little winner, like Glock said, second place for $10,000 in that. So, hey, be sure to check out all the content over here at Rumpure. We got it all for you. We'll have NASCAR tomorrow. We'll have MLB shows as well. I mean, again, like I said, we got it all over here at Rumpure. But Glock, let's dive in and talk about this slate. A nice little 2-man boost. So I don't know if we'll take up the whole hour. We'll have to see. But hey, let's kick it off with Joe Musgrove. I know Christian Javier costs more, but I don't really think he's going to get a ton of ownership. I don't think he's someone that I'm really looking at. I think Musgrove is clearly the chalkiest option at the top. It's like between him and Strider, right? If you had to pick one guy to spend on, I think that's where most people are looking to. That's kind of where I'm at. Musgrove is going to be the guy that I'm leaning on over Strider, mainly because he's a little safer. I think, yes, Strider has more upside, but if you look at the matchup, one match was Washington, one is Houston. The good news is for Strider, Houston's matchup gets a little easier. Yordan Alvarez not in the lineup, so without him being in there, that's going to help out Strider. 7.5 strikeout prop for Strider, 6.5K strikeout prop for Musgrove. Again, a lot to discuss in this range. Let's kick it off with those two because I think they're both great options. I think a lot of people are going to go to both of them, but also there's some other pitchers we should discuss for cheaper too that might be able to get you in some bats. And it's a Coors slate clock, and we got cheap price tags in Coors. So salary might not matter as much, where I think a lot of people are definitely getting in at least one expensive pitcher. What's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Coors real quick from last night, right? I mean, on paper, I think a few people said on the show, like, we don't know if like there's could be a better spot in MLB DFS than Jose Urena in Coors at home facing a bunch of lefties against, San Francisco, right? And I know you were on the show, saying to fade it, which I agreed with for the most part. But, there's a lot of people that thought like it was like a sure proof, like 100% slam run, like home run play. And, obviously it didn't work out like that, right? Like I think the first runs that were given up were when Urena was actually out of the game. So he actually looked pretty good. And I mean, that kind of just embodies MLB DFS in a nutshell, right? Like anything can happen, right? Anything can look so super good on paper, but in reality, like even the best teams can, put up 0 runs in a night. Even the best pitchers can have an off night and give up, a lot of bombs. So that's just something to keep in mind, especially going into tonight, because tonight is also a Coors slate. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. But yeah, I mean, Joe Musgrove at the top, right? 10.1K. I think I'm just going to ignore Javier on the road against Atlanta. I think they've been kind of hitting the ball well as of late, so I don't think I'll go there. And then, yeah, it's interesting because Musgrove is projected to come in with, one of the highest ownerships on the slate. And it's been a while since he's actually posted a ceiling performance. So it's kind of interesting that he is holding that ownership. But, because of his matchup, I think that's, why he's going to get that ownership, right? Washington has been a little more pesky as of late, only ranking 26th in the league in K rate versus right-hand pitching. But like you look at the lineup, there's no one really scary, right? After the Soto and the Bell trade. And then you compare it with the other starting pitchers we have on tonight's slate. Like you have Strider against Houston. You have David Peterson against Philly. You have Josiah Gray against San Diego. You have like arms that are in tougher matchups. So that's ultimately why I think Musgrove will come in with a ton of ownership. And obviously, like, he's a great option, right? I mean, he has a serviceable K rate at 24.2%. He has the lowest walk rate on the slate at 5.3%. He allows the 4th lowest expected slugging rate at 0.346 and the 4th lowest xWOB at 0.281. So metrics wise, he's really solid. And then I think you go right under that, Spencer Strider, right? Obviously, he has a really scary matchup on paper. Bregman is one of the hottest batters in the league. But, I think he will be at home, which is a plus. And I do like his game, right? Because he can strike out anyone when he's on. He has the slate leading K rate at 37.3%. He allows the lowest expected slugging rate at 0.293. And then he also has the lowest xWOB at 0.254. So metrics wise, he's probably one of the best pitchers on this slate. And I think because Yordan is out of the lineup, he would be my favorite option, despite the scary, matchup that he has on paper.
Yeah, definitely a really, really fun slate that we got here. Lots of different options that you can go to. Joseph wondering in the chat, he's saying, is Big T strictly premium members for real? Now, yeah, you'll see these guys sometimes on the free stuff, right? Especially during NFL, NBA too. You'll see these guys sneak up in that. But yeah, right now they're behind the paywall for most stuff. Again, sometimes you see him there. Big T's done some. He did a free NFL show early in the week. College football, we're gonna have a YouTube show that we're gonna be doing for most Saturdays. I'm sure Big T will be popping on that. I mean, he's playing all the sports and you're getting his entire player pool. You are finding out all the guys that Big T is going to be on. You're going to see his core plays, the guys that he is going to be playing. You'll get his breakdowns too on the premium show. So yeah, if you sign up, you get that show, Up the Lock show. No Up the Lock show today though. I should mention that. Typically that's going to be Monday through Fridays. But yeah, if you want to check it all out, he's behind the paywall with all that. I'm sure he'll have content up for today as well. He had it for the early slate with all the players that he was looking at, his core plays and everything. I'm sure he will be having that as well. So, and Joseph, if you are going to go sign up, use that code NFL15. Get you 15% off once you sign up, right? If I sign up right now using that code NFL15, I get that price locked in for life as long as I don't unsubscribe. If I unsubscribe, then yeah, you lose that price, but you will have that one. So stick with us, Joseph. We'll have tons of content for you. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on it. We've been having a bunch of meetings, making sure to get this NFL content perfect for you guys and perfect for all the members here at Run Pure. So Glock, let's talk about some other pitchers. So I mentioned Strider and I mentioned Musgrove a little bit. I didn't talk about Dustin May that much. So what do you think of him as like a contrarian pivot? I think he could be a really interesting option. The pitch count is slightly concerning. I also want to see the Phillies lineup. Another guy in that range is David Peterson. I think he could actually have a bunch of upside in this spot at very low ownership. So curious to get your takes on that. And also want to mention Logan Gilbert, because I think he's going to be one of the chalkier options in this range, and for good reason. He's playing against Oakland, perfect ballpark. And it's a great bounce back spot for him. If you look at Logan Gilbert, just pull up the game logs. It's been brutal for him. Texas, he had 12. Yankees was minus. Yankees, another minus. And then Astros, he actually had some good performances. Texas at 14, Toronto 14. And again, that's okay at 8K. It's not incredible. Obviously, every slate is different. Context matters. But the point I'm getting at is like, Logan Gilbert isn't that safe. I think he's got a ton of upside at 8K, and he's got probably the best upside of any of like the cheaper pitcher options. But I do think there's risk to him as well, and he's going to come in with some ownership. So what's your thoughts on some of them and some of the other options there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, right? Because Musgrove and Gilbert are projected to be like two of the highest owned guys. And then, if you're a game log person, they haven't been the prettiest for sure as of late. But like I said, it's a matchup type thing. And yeah, definitely Logan Gilbert will definitely be in play for me. You mentioned it, right? He faced New York and Houston in 4 of his last 5 starts. And, obviously those teams have big bats, right? And they can be daunting for anyone. And so tonight he gets an Oakland team that we've been targeting all season in a nice park. Oakland's been a bottom 5 offense in the league. And yeah, I mean, I definitely like Gilbert here as a potential mid-range salary saver. He has the 8th highest K rate on the slate and the 4th lowest walk rate is 6.8%. So I like Gilbert for sure. And then you mentioned Dustin May, right? I generally don't like roster these pitchers coming off of like injury. I think he's making his MLB debut this season, like for the season. And, it is against Miami. And then I think in his last rehab start, he went 5 innings with 10 strikeouts with 70 pitches. So that's nice. You'd think like if they're not super limiting him, he'd be around 80 to 85. So I do think he's interesting, but I probably won't go there personally. If you have access to the playbook, I think Gary has some of his thoughts on him there. So be sure to check that out. David Peterson, I think he's interesting, but he hasn't started a full game since the beginning of August, I believe. And then before that, he was kind of in and out as a bullpen guy. So that kind of worries me. One guy I do want to touch on that, I think some people may laugh, but I think we have to make a case for him is Josiah Gray, right? I mean, similar to Tristan McKenzie yesterday, I think they're both boom or bust starting pitcher options, right? San Diego has only struck out at the 16th highest rate versus right-hand pitching in the last 2 weeks. But I've been watching their games from an eye test perspective. They don't really look that good, right? They obviously have the big names on paper, but I know you guys are with me because we've stacked up San Diego multiple times in the last week and they've just horribly disappointed, right? I mean, Animal Sanchez looked amazing against them. And then who was it yesterday? What's his name? Paolo Espino. He looked great against them. So yeah, I mean, this is more of like an eye test type of play for me where, Josiah Gray, when he's on, he can strike out a ton of people. And, I think from a tournament perspective, he should be in play. Obviously he can go the other way, but just something to keep in mind. I think he'll be in my pool tonight. And then, yeah, I mean, I think I have like one option in the 7K range. I don't know if you want to go there, but if you want to touch on anyone else, go ahead.
No, I'll touch on the Gray thing real quick, and then we can go back to you. So Vinny said Gray is better on the road than at home. Well, probably because Washington Sparks is a good hitter, Sparks. I think that plays some part into it. For instance, this Dunn guy for Cincinnati, he's going to be better on the road and home probably most of his career if he plays with Cincinnati his entire career. So I think that's going to play part of it for Gray. The reason why you like him, and this is the key, is yes, he does have struggles against left-handed bats. You got Jake Cronenworth in there, Bell, Soto. All good options. Trent Grisham. The K rate, 27%, right? it's like if he's on, like if
Fourth
Josiah
highest
Gray
on the
goes,
slate. Fourth highest on the slate. Just want to
is it fourth highest? Okay, yeah,
Yep,
that's pretty good then. And it's just like if he's on, right? Then what happens? You probably get that ceiling performance. So it's a matter of you're trying to shoot for that. I kind of I wish San Diego was a little bit higher owned, right? Because I don't think they're going to be like one of the chalkier options on
That's
this.
true.
Slate,
Yeah.
Then you could like leverage it a little bit more. That's what I was kind of hoping was going to happen when I kind of like did like my first look overview of the slate. But yeah, I think overall Josiah Gray, don't mind it as an option. Think it's intriguing. Who's the 7K guy you're interested in, Glock, or is it below 7K?
It's 7K. Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote down Alex Cobb. I think he's been pitching pretty decently as of late. In his last 4 or 6 games, he's posted 20 or more fantasy points. And now he gets to go on the road, against a Coors team, Rockies team, who only ranks 20th in the league in K rate versus right-hand pitching. But I don't think I'm really ever scared to roster any starting pitcher against the Rockies. And, at this price tag, I think he's a viable play for me. When you look at Cobb's metrics, like he ranks in the top 5 of a lot of them. He has the 5th highest K rate on the slate at 25%, 7th lowest walk rate at 7.4%. So that's a little out of the top 5, but close to it. He allows the 3rd lowest expected slugging rate at 0.330 and the 3rd lowest xWOB at 0.276. So, I mean, you tell me a top 5 metric guy for a guy that's 7.8K on a slate where there isn't like truly clear lock and load SP options. I think he'll be in play for me for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't get too excited about it, but I get it. I get what you're doing there. It's tough down here in this range. If I had to pick someone, like I had to go with one below 8K, man, it's brutal. I think it ends up being James Caprillion, but like I don't know. I don't even want to play him that bad. It's not.
Yeah, it gets ugly down there for sure.
It gets real ugly. So hey, if you do play guys down here, like you're gonna be different right away. Not saying you need to. I'm definitely gonna try and live above that 8K range for the most part. Before we kind of move on to the hitters, we're gonna go game by game and talk about each one. I want to ask you guys, please like the video. We appreciate it over here at Run Pure. We'll give out those plays of the day if we get enough likes. Subscribe to the channel if you want to, find out when we go live. We got all our shows going live. And J10 is in the chat. He asked if RPS will have a cash show. And if you subscribe to this channel, I believe you'll get notified when the cash show does go live this year. So I think it'll be on the YouTube channel. So yeah, it'll be me. It'll be Hoop. I assume Holden will be doing it as well with us. I think it'll be us 3 as usual, talking about the cash stuff. Check out the cash chart as well. I got that up already here for the MLB streets. So hey, if you're a cash game grinder, we got all the stuff you need. If you're a tournament player, you can use the cash stuff to help you out to find how to get different, or just use other stuff to help you with tournaments like JSU stuff, AP stuff, BigT, Glock's Coors, tons of different stuff that you guys can check out over here at Run Pure Sports. But let's go on over. Let's talk about some of these games coming up. Again, we're going game by game. We're going to talk about mainly the bats. We're not going to talk about all the pitchers as much. Mainly just going to discuss which stacks that we like. So let's kick it off with this first one. We got the Reds and the Pirates, and this game is in Pittsburgh, so worth mentioning. Pittsburgh, not the greatest park for hitting, and I'm going to say that a lot on this slate. That's another thing to give you like a background on. Like context matters on MLB DFS slates. There is a course on the slate, but the rest of the ballparks, not the best hitting environments in general. So we'll probably say that a lot. But Justin Dunn, he has not been good. Look at the numbers. Gotten destroyed by both sides of the plate. I believe, Glock, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he gave up a ton of stolen bases too. Like he's not good at holding runners on. I think that's correct. Maybe someone in the chat can let me know too. If not, I'll look it up. But do think that this is a pretty good spot for these Pirates. I think a guy like Ben Gamel, who's a speed guy, could be good. He's been crushing the ball as of late as well. Brian Reynolds is a really good, interesting option. And the thing I like the most about these Pittsburgh Pirates is their price tags are cheap. And because they have such cheap price tags, they fit really well as like a 3-man stack to pair up with my 5-man expensive stack. Glock, what about you? Are you playing Pirates, or maybe you're playing some Reds? What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do lean the Pittsburgh side for sure if I had to pick one. But I mean, I think this game has, Clown Fiesta written all over it, right? I think there's just 2 really, really bad pitchers on the mound on both sides in Tyler Beede and Justin Dunn. Like you said, Justin Dunn, I mean, he only has a limited sample size of 142 pitches, but in this sample, he has the 3rd lowest K rate on the slate at 15%, 6th highest walk rate at 10%. He allows the highest expected slugging rate at 0.662, the highest xWOB at 0.449, and the highest exit velocity at 94.3 miles per hour. So, I mean, you add that along with, your theory about the stolen bases, which we'll confirm later. Yeah, I mean, that makes the Pittsburgh side look extra tasty. I mean, you look at Brian Reynolds' game log, he's been one of the hottest hitters, as of late, 36, 21, 37. I mean, he's been hitting the ball really well. So I like him a lot for sure if you're stacking them up. And then, yeah, on the opposite side, you have Tyler Beatty, right? Who hasn't been good either. He has the second lowest K rate on the slate at 13.4%, fifth highest walk rate at 10.2%. So, yeah, definitely have both sides of interest in this game. It does look like the Cincinnati side will not come with that much ownership. So, I wouldn't be scared to mix in the top of the order guys like, Votto, India, Farmer, Fraley, if he's in there. And then, on the Pittsburgh side, it does look like they're going to come in with some ownership. So you'll probably need to, consider some of the lower order guys if you're mixing them up, maybe like a Bo Cruz, batting 6 at 4K. But they have like that Greg Allen guy at 2K out in the outfield batting 7th. They got tons of value. I'm looking at their lineup right now. There's 4 guys that are min price. And then their highest price guy is 4.2K at Brian Reynolds. So lots of ways you could stack this up. But yeah, I mean, I like this game a lot overall. And then, like you said, context of the slate, right? I mean, I feel like we're at a part in the season where it's getting a little bit harder to distinguish, the really good offensive spots, right? Like the weather's cooling down a little bit. And like, maybe you have like 1 or 2 offenses that you truly like on an offense on a slate, but behind that, it really does, like, you can mix it up and get different easily. So I think this is one of the spots where, if you are considering Pittsburgh, don't forget about the other side, maybe as like a mini stack or something.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I definitely like the Pittsburgh side as a little bit of a mini stack. I'll be getting exposure to it. There is some weather here. So someone in the chat mentioned that, and I'm not too worried about it. I just want to mention that. Like it's yellow. It's one of those spots where I think what you got to basically say here is overall storms are going to come in and out, right? You have to consider that they could just get washed completely, but I think they just play the game. I think they're just going to go through and play it out. DC is one of the guys that is pretty good at looking at the radar in the chat. Also, we'll do that in the Discord chat probably like 30 minutes before the game. So it's best to look at the radar, see if anything's forming, because that's kind of what it's looking like it's going to happen. More stuff could pop up. We'll figure that out as we kind of get further into the slate. Don't think we want to worry too much about it, but let's move on over. Let's talk about the next game. Rangers and the Twins. Pretty interesting game to discuss here, Glock. I mean, overall, Glenn Otto, not a guy I typically pick on, but like, I don't know, the Twins have a decent implied total. I don't think we should completely ignore them on this slate. What do you want to do with them in this spot? And then do you want to attack maybe Chris Archer with some of these Texas bats?
Yeah, I probably don't have interest on the Texas side, honestly. I think Chris Archer, he has been pretty decent as of late, minimizing the damage. If you look at his game log, 18.8 fantasy points, 12.9, 10 fantasy points in his last 3 starts. So I think there are better spots on this slate, so I probably won't get to Texas personally. And then, yeah, I think I do have some interest in the Minnesota side, despite how disappointing they've been all season. I rostered Glenn Otto. If you guys look up his picture, I mean, tell me that's not Steve Boynton. Like he looks exactly like Steve Boynton to me. But yeah, I rostered Glenn Otto in his last start, and man, I feel like that guy cannot register a strikeout, right? He's just like an extreme walk machine. It's indicated by his slate leading walk rate of 12.6%. And he also has the 6th lowest K rate at 17.9%. So, I mean, if you're stacking up the Twins, I don't think it does look like they're going to come with some ownership. So I may be more interested in like kind of mini stacking them, not full stacking. But obviously you want to mix in guys like Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Arise, Miranda, Kepler. Is their lineup out yet? I think it is. Let me see. Who's in there? Is Nick Gordon in there? Yeah, Nick Gordon at 2K. Batting 7th in the outfield. I mean, he has power. I feel like they don't ever want to raise up his price. Jake Cave, I think he's like a Big T favorite. He's a good option that you can mix in with your lineup as well. So yeah, I mean, I think they look good. I don't know if they'll be like a top 3 stack tonight for me, but they are in consideration for sure.
Yep, for sure. Definitely can't completely ignore them. I'm curious to see if anyone else ends up being on them. Glock, let's go to the next one. Let's go to that 7.5 total. It's the Braves and the Astros, and I don't see myself doing it. How about you? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I made a case for Strider early in the show. I don't really like Christian Javier, but I think he can do enough to just minimize the damage. And yeah, I mean, they don't have Yordan, so that takes me off of Houston stacks for sure. Obviously, I do think Bregman is one of the hottest hitters in baseball. So if you don't play Strider in your lineup, I would consider him as maybe as a one-off, or, if you're considering Houston, maybe mini stack them and make sure that he's in the lineup or he's in your stack. But yeah, I think I'm just going to fade this game offensively for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good game to fade offensively. It doesn't seem like one that I want to end up going to here in this spot, Glock. But I will say, our guy Garrett, he might be on him. He likes some Braves always, so you never know. So check out the playbook. I've been told, got the notification in our Discord chat. Playbook's live, so if you want, go check that out. Right now, it's up there. And if you're not a member at Run Pure Sports, again, use that code NFL15, get you 15% off. For life. And you get in that Discord chat. So be sure to get in on that. Again, not playing the 7.5 total, though. Let's shift on over from one 7.5 total to another. We got the Seattle Mariners and the Oakland Athletics. And I mean, maybe even consider Seattle against Caprillion. I know I talked about, hey, if I had to dip my toes into that lower range, Glock, I would consider it. But I think you can make a case for Seattle if you want to on this slate. Do you have a case for them? Because I don't think this is the spot I'm going to. How about you?
Yeah. Seattle is kind of another stack like, Houston, or not Houston, Atlanta, where I don't think they'll like kind of make my top three stacks where they'll be like a last cut. I don't think Caprillion is that good, but he has been better as of late. 16.3 fantasy points, 20.5, 17.2, 11.9, and 13.2 fantasy points in his last 5 starts. Granted, those were against teams like Texas, the Angels, and the White Sox. So that is kind of, what is interesting about Seattle. But I'll probably just stay away, right? Bad ballpark, and just kind of think like this game ends like 3-2 or something. And then, obviously I don't have interest on the Oakland side because I like Logan Gilbert as a pitching option. So I'll probably fade this game harder than I would considering the Houston Atlanta game.
Yep. I've definitely considered it more than the other one if I had to, and it would be the Seattle side, but that's really it. I guess you could make the case like for a little bit of leverage. Maybe you could take a shot on Oakland as like the cheap bats. Some of these options, maybe like a Vogt, maybe a Brown.
Yeah, I was hoping that Shea Langeliers guy would be in the lineup. He's been a guy that I've been kind of one-offing, and he hit a dong like 2 games ago, I think. But it looks like Vogt, they're going with old man Vogt. So I'll probably just stay away. I wrote that I would consider Shea Langeliers. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but min price at catcher. If he was in the lineup, I would consider him, but he's not. So that makes me like Logan Gilbert even more, honestly. So yeah.
All right, cool. Let's shift on over to the next game. One that I definitely have, have some thoughts on. I want to talk about. It's a 9 total. It's the Mets. It's the Phillies, and it's an interesting game. And I think this Mets side is really interesting, mainly because Bailey Falter. Where does he struggle? He struggles against righties. And there's some pretty good righties in this Mets lineup. The only problem we're going to have is we still don't have that lineup. We do have this Phillies lineup finally, and I want to talk about that Phillies lineup. It's Schwarber, Hoskins, Bohm, Realmuto, Castellanos, Segura, Verling, Sosa, and then Matten. So similar to what we normally see. I was wondering if maybe one of those bigger bats at the top would just somehow get a rest. And if that's the case, that maybe push me a little more on the Peterson possibly. But overall, I think this Mets team is really interesting against Falter. Reason why is those righties, like I discussed. I think Marte, I think Lindor, Pete Alonso, Big T's boy, in the Big Platoon Hall of Fame, Darren Ruff, if he ends up being in that lineup. Mark Canha can certainly get it done as a cheaper outfield option. I do think that Marte is a really good spend up that you can go to. And then that cheap catcher, James McCann at 3.3K. And on a site like FanDuel, let's say you're playing over on FanDuel today, people do not like to play those catchers, but he's 2.1K. He might help make a lot of things work, might be a little bit of a differentiation play, and we know he can hit lefties well. So I think overall, these Mets are really intriguing options. How about you, Glock?
Yeah, definitely like the Mets side here. If I had to pick one, I did mention that David Peterson is kind of interesting to me as a pitching option on today's slate. So I probably won't have any interest in the Philly side as an offense. But yeah, I mean, the Mets are super interesting, right? And I looked into it. Bailey Falter, he's faced the Mets twice already this season, and he allowed 6 runs over 5 innings against them. So he hasn't particularly played great against them. He has a below average K rate at 21.8%, allows the 3rd highest expected slugging rate at 0.500 and the 5th highest xWOBA at 0.353. So yeah, definitely love the Mets here. We don't have the lineup yet, but you can go up and down the lineup. That's a good part about them, right? Because they have power throughout. Alonso, Starling Marte, Lindor, Nimmo, Ruff, McNeil, Canna. I mean, even this Brett Beatty guy, that's made his debut for them. He's played really well. 16 fantasy points, 3 in his next game, and then 9. So, I mean, he hasn't dropped a goose egg yet, and he's only 2.4K, at third base. So I think that's some salary savings that you can get with the Mets lineup. So yeah, I think the Mets are firmly in play for sure.
Yep, Mets are definitely in play. A stack that I like here on this slate. So yeah, we'll have to see how it all goes. Like I said, this Mets team, I think they're going to be a good one. I think. Where do you think their ownership comes in, Glock? I think it's lower because St. Louis, I think, is the team outside of Coors people are going to go to, and then obviously the Giants, the number one stack that most people are going to go to. I think they gain the most ownership in general, and I'm not really worried about that much ownership from there. Is that kind of your overall thoughts on how you're handling like the stacks ownerships today?
Yeah, I think if I were to guess right now, the top ownership obviously would be the Giants, and then I think Pittsburgh and St. Louis are going to garner a lot of the other offensive ownership. I think Pittsburgh is getting steamed up. I think people know that this Dunn guy is not very good. And they have a ton of value, right? I think I mentioned it, 4 2K guys, and then 5 if you include like the 2.4K guy in their lineup. So they have value all throughout. Optos are probably going to be jamming them in, right? Like even if you say, all right, give me a 5-man St. Louis stack, right? Those guys, that team has like Goldie, Arenado, expensive bats that you need to pay up for. And so by default, the Opto is probably going to jam in Pittsburgh mini stacks at the least, right? So I think they're going to come in as one of the own stacks as well. So I do think the Mets could get a little overlooked on this slate for sure.
Yep, definitely agree with you on that one. Let's head on over to the next game. And I alluded to it, the Cardinals. They're the team that if Coors wasn't here, I think this would be the team that a lot of people would be going to. We're still waiting on that lineup. I also think, don't sleep on the game stack. It is a 9 total. I don't typically love this ballpark, but like I said before, there's a lot of ballparks I don't love today. I do want to mention that Phillies game. It is 87 degrees and winds blowing out 10 miles an hour. So I think it's one nice really bump in that game's favor for those Mets. But Diamondbacks, I think you can't completely sleep on them against Hudson. Some of these lefties, guys like Varsho in the 1 hole, Josh Rojas, even though he's a bit pricey. Jake McCarthy is a cheap option that I definitely would like there. Alec Thomas, cheaper at the bottom of the order. Don't mind that. But this Cardinals team is what I really want to talk about. Tyler O'Neill against a lefty, sign me up. I think he's a great play. Love his price tag on FanDuel at 3K. I think at 4.7 on DK. Feels pricey, but I'm still down to go for it. Goldschmidt, have you seen the BVP on Goldschmidt and Arenado today?
I have not. Is it good?
It's a large sample size on both. One of them is really good. The other one, I'll let you be the judge. How about that? No one's going to question that Paul Goldschmidt's 73 at-bats, 25 hits, 4 home runs, and batting .342 average, 15 RBIs. The dude has 12 walks. I mean, the dude's gotten the job done. You know what I mean? He's been very good. Nolan Arenado, 3 home runs and 65 at-bats, average is .262. Not as great, obviously. I think Goldschmidt's the BVP. If you're a BVP truther, that's one that people will definitely be talking about a little bit today and have some interest in. Curious to get your take on how you're handling this team, though, because they are pricey. If you are going to play Paul Goldschmidt, on FanDuel, he's 4.8. On DK, he's 6K. Arenado is 2.4K. If you do play Goldschmidt, you have Albert Pujols value at 2K that you can't get to. The reason why you can't get to it is because, they both can't play first base. You have some other bottom of the order guys that could easily be able to make it work. I think a guy like Tommy Edman could be a contrarian guy that gets lost in the shuffle because he's going to be in the middle of the lineup and is a little bit pricier. I think people will go to Carlson, who will likely be at that top. Yes, we need that lineup. Curious to get your take, though, Glock. How are you handling these Cardinals? Because they have a lot of value. They got a lot of spend-ups, and I think they're going to be a really good stack against Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Obviously, that Pujols v. Goldschmidt is a huge debate in the Discord. I think people have been going back and forth I debated Pujols versus Goldschmidt, and I went Pujols, so I left 4K on the table. But yeah, I mean, Pujols has been hitting it really well. That's definitely, obviously, long-term, you'll probably side with Goldschmidt in all your 1v1s, but as of late, Pujols has just been crushing the ball for sure. So yeah, I mean, I like St. Louis a lot. I like both sides of this game, actually. This is another game where it just features 2 really bad pitchers in Madison Bumgarner and Dakota Hudson, right? We'll start with the St. Louis side. So Bumgarner, he has the 5th lowest K rate on the slate at 16.8%, allows the 4th highest expected slugging rate at .466, the 6th highest xWOB at .348, and the 5th highest exit velocity at 89.4 miles per hour. He's also allowed 17 home runs on the year, which is the second most behind Josiah Gray, who's given up 31. So, I mean, that's a lot of home runs. St. Louis is definitely in a really good spot today. And then, yeah, I think just to get a little more contrarian, if you are stacking up the Cardinals, do consider like Arizona as like a game stack, to pair with them, right? You have Dakota Hudson on the other side, who has the lowest K rate on the slate at 13.4%, and he has the fourth highest walk rate at 10.8%. He also allows the sixth highest expected slugging rate at 0.427, fourth highest xWOB at 0.354, and the fourth highest exit velocity at 89.8 miles per hour. So, yeah, I mean, like both of these pitchers are just not very good at all. You can mix in a ton of guys here as well, right? I think we do have the Arizona lineup. Kind of disappointed that Stone Garrett guy isn't in there, but you do have some cheap options like Jake McCarthy, Emmanuel Riviera, Sandy Alcantara. Alec Thomas is batting 8th at 3.6K. I don't think he's going to have much ownership. So you can mix these guys in and make your stacks a little different. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely have interest on both sides of this game for sure. But if I had to, pick a side, obviously it would be the Cards.
Yeah, for sure. And if you do play the Cardinals again, like just think about how you want to roster them, right? Because that Albert Pujols and Paul Goldschmidt decision, that's obviously a big one because it changes your lineup construction completely if you decide to go with that route. And yeah, the Goldschmidt Arenado decision is brutal. So if you jam both them in, well, good luck getting some of these other options. It obviously gets a little difficult. Like let me just try. I'm going to put in Arenado. I'm going to put in Goldschmidt. And then we'll put in the chalkiest pitchers. Right? We'll put in Musgrove and we'll put in, I guess, it's either Gilbert or Strider. Let's go Gilbert just to get, make it a little easier. You're at 3.4K for all your spots, right? That's without even going Spencer Strider. So the point is, it kind of gets tough to make it work. So if you play a Goldschmidt with an Arenado, likely that's going to be different right away just because it's not that easy to do. And you'll have to go a really cheap stack along with it. Maybe it's like the Pirates. Definitely have to, kind of check that out. I'm going to play some Cardinals. I'll obviously update my core plays and who knows, maybe I'll have one of those where it's Goldschmidt and Arenado. And if it is, then you'll kind of know what I'm doing based on what I just talked about here. But hey, if you guys could please like and subscribe to this video, it helps us out a ton. We're at 90 likes, got 269 watching. So let's get those likes a little bit up and then hopefully we can give out those plays of the day for you guys. But let's shift on over to this next game. We got 3 games left to talk about here, Glock, and one of them is a Coors game. And I know there's a little bit of weather concerns in Colorado. I'm not that worried about it, though. I think it'll be fine no matter what. How are you handling the Giants on this slate, Glock? I'm not really dying to play these guys. I understand. Yes, you could play them. They're good plays. You just got to find ways to be different with it. That's all. How are you handling them here?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it early in the show, right? I mean, on paper, yesterday was probably arguably one of the best spots in MLB DFS we've had all year. Jose Urena against lefties at home in Coors, Giants coming in, loading up the lineup with a bunch of lefties. And then obviously they don't get like any runs until late in the game. So yeah, I mean, I think, the point I wanted to make of this game is like, I was going to monitor the ownership, right. And see like if it would get to extreme levels, like as it were last night, and it may. So I probably lean staying away. But just to make a case for the Giants, right. Like Jose Urena hasn't been good. Ryan Feltner hasn't been good at all this year, so it's worth mentioning. He has the 6th lowest K rate on the slate at 19.2%, allows the highest expected slugging rate at 0.515 and the highest xWOB at 0.370. So yeah, I mean, obviously if you do stack them up, let's see, they do have the lineup out, Lamonte Wade, 2.8K in the 2-hole. He's going to be super chalky. Brandon Crawford, 2.3K in the 6-hole. He's going to be chalky again. So just try to mix in like as much as the lower owned guys in the lineup as you can. I mean, I know Joey Bart isn't like a super sexy option, but he is going to be one of the lower owned guys, despite the fact that he's 2.7K at the catching position. So yeah, I mean, just be considering the way you stack it up and pair it with the lower level or lower order guys. Like if you are stacking up San Francisco. And then, yeah, I kind of mentioned, my case for Alex Cobb as a pitching option. So I don't think I am going to pick on the Rocky side at all if I had to pick an offense. So just San Francisco, but like yesterday, I'm probably going to fade as well.
All right. Yeah, I'm fading too. I don't think I need this game. I'm okay with it. If it burns me, it burns me. I'm okay with it. I'm going to move on to this next game. Let's talk about these Padres and the Nationals. And with one of our chatters basically say like, hey, Padres, I'm going to go back to them, right? Curious to see if you're going to go back to them, Glock. I mean, I know they've been brutal, right? They just keep being painful. We talked about it at the start. JT, as he says it, they've been very, very hurtful to people. Are they going to be hurtful again? Will Josiah Gray be someone that we can attack? I don't mind. I think I kind of like the mini stack a little bit with the Padres. Like maybe like mini stack it up with like those lefties and key in on them. Just because I think a lot of people that will play the Padres will just like load that boat on that 5-man stack. They'll be like, okay, if I'm already going like these 3, I may as well just like full on 5-man it and like find ways to like save another other routes. So I think that 3-man could be a little bit different. Curious to get your take on this game. How are you handling it, Clock?
Yeah, I kind of made a case for Josiah Gray earlier, right? I feel like we have been stacking up the Padres and they have been disappointing as of late. And they've been getting mowed down by like the worst of pitchers, right? Anibal Sanchez and Paulo Espino to start this homestand. And then now they get Josiah Gray. Obviously Gray, he's boom or bust, right? So it can always go the other way. He's allowed 31 home runs on the year, which is, by the most afar on the slate. The next person is Madison Bumgarner, who's allowed 17. So just put that in perspective. Gray, when he's not on, he can definitely give up bombs. And then San Diego has the guys to totally exploit this, right? Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Brandon Drury, Josh Bell, Trent Grisham has been swinging a hot bat. The interesting thing is about them, you were mentioning really expensive stacks. San Diego's cheapest guy is Trent Grisham at 3.4K. And so like if you do start your lineups with a Musgrove and a Gilbert, and then let's say you plug in Soto at 6.3K in the outfield and then Manny Machado at 5.9K at third base, like you're going to have around that same salary that you would have, with that Goldschmidt Arenado construction. So that is something to keep in mind. They aren't necessarily the cheapest stack, which is why I think the Pittsburgh value is just going to get steamed up. That's going to be my, my assumption on this slate. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. I don't know if San Diego will make my top 3 stacks, but they are in consideration for sure. I just think from what I've been seeing from them, they just seem completely overrated. I don't know. They look very strong on paper, but just the eye test, they look overrated right now. And maybe it'll take some time for them to start gelling and, get the offense rolling. But, just getting mowed down by Anibal Sanchez and Paulo Espino, it's not a good look for me.
Yeah. One thing we should talk about, actually, I think some good points were brought up while you're discussing everything there. So if you do play the San Diego stack and you play Trent Grisham like at 3.4K as like one of your values, and let's say you're doing the 5-man, well, Austin Nola becomes one of your values at 3.7, right? The next best value, not value, but like the next best cheapest option that you can put in there. Well, that could limit you because what happens is when you try and play that 5-man and you're playing one of these like cheap stacks, well, then you can't get that 2K catcher in there, right? So like that's something to think about a little bit when rostering the Padres. So I think that's a point that I wanted to bring up there. Another point I wanted to bring up, Glock, if you think Pittsburgh gets steamed up, which I think you're right about that. I do think they get steamed up a little bit. Don't know how much. Who is the other cheap mini stack that you could pivot to that maybe is a better option? Or like, just like, how it is, Glock. Let's say like that mini stack ends up being like 10% owned. Well, if that's like 10% owned and there's like another mini stack that's 1%, like, and they're like almost the same stack, it's worth going to the 1% one. Now, what's the other stack that you would maybe pivot to? For me, the cheap stack that I would consider is probably the Reds. It'd be on the complete other side if I had to pick on this slate. What about you?
I like the Twins. Jake Cave, 2K flat in the outfield, Nick Gordon, 2K in the outfield. Those guys have power. They have upside. So I think you could mix those guys in, as a more contrarian stack than that of the the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they're interesting, but I do like your Reds call for sure. I mean, I think they're both contrarian options that you can have for value for sure. I like them both. I think they're both
the
good
Twins
calls.
one's interesting, and Jorge Polanco is only 4-1. I definitely don't mind it. Minnesota's one I'm going to consider more as a mini stack as we go on. Like Jorge Polanco, Max Kepler with like a Cave or Gordon. Like I don't mind that at all. Like there's interesting things that you can do with the Twins for sure. So I think that's a good point that was brought up there. Let's move it along. Let's go on over to this last game. There was some talk in the chat about Dustin May. I kind of talked about it a little bit. Glock, do you know exactly what the pitch count's at? I believe it's around like in the 80s, but I think some people were asking about it a little bit. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there's always some uncertainty, right? But I think he pitched 70 times in his last start. So, I mean, 80 to 85, I guess would be 75 to 85, I guess would be a conservative guess for him. And obviously Miami's not any good. So I think he's in play for sure as a kind of a lower owned pivot, to like a Strider or something along those sorts. But I probably won't go there. I just don't roster pitchers coming off the IL. I think Lance McCullers came off it recently at a really low tag at like 8.3K. I didn't go there personally, so I don't think I'm going to go here for Dustin May. But I totally get it for sure.
Yep, perfectly fine. Andrew Martinez asked, would you do a 3 or 5-man red stack? I would keep it to a 3-man stack. I don't need to do the 5-man. Like when you kind of get into the 5-man, sometimes you look at it and you're like, man, like I could see like 3 of these dudes getting here, but all these 5, I'm not sure. And I just don't think you need to do it on this slate. If it was one of those old slates where like you had like, I don't know, like Clayton Kershaw when he was in his prime and like did not spot at 12K, I'd be like, okay, like now I'm considering more of those like 5-mans. I just don't feel like I need it where I can just do the 3-man and kind of get away with it on this slate. So I'm perfectly fine just 3-man stacking that Cincinnati one. We got the Cardinals lineup out. So let's talk about that Cardinals lineup real quick here. And then I don't know if you discussed the game, Glock. I'll admit I was not paying attention, which happens sometimes. So
which one? The Dodgers?
Did you talk about the Dodgers game?
No.
Or did you talk about May?
No, I didn't talk about the game at all yet.
All right. Well, I still don't see the Cardinals lineup. So let's do this, Glock. We'll actually talk about the Dodgers now, and then we'll go back to that Cardinals lineup when I see it. But I'll talk real quick first. Obviously, these Dodgers they're almost always in play, right? Because of the power that they have. I typically don't like them in this ballpark in the summer. It is the summer, but it's starting to get cooler. Not as many good hitting spots where I think they're more in play. Also, I think you're going to get them at way lower ownership. I mean, if you look, these guys, Mookie Betts is 6'4", Trey Turner's 6'2". I mean, you got to spend some money to get up to these guys. If you're going to play Will Smith, you got to play 4.9K. I mean, you got to spend up some money. So it's not that easy to make this Dodgers stack work. And if you do it, you probably can't get those like big pitchers both together. So you have to make some sacrifices somewhere. Are you looking to play this game, Glock? And I think there's a pitching change that happened too in this game. I don't know if maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but
yeah.
What do you got here for the Dodgers?
Braxton Garrett got scratched, so it'll be interesting to see. Have they announced who's going to take his spot yet? I don't know. I mean, but I'm kind of on the same boat as you where I don't really like playing the Dodgers right now. I think at low ownership, you can always convince me into them, but like I said, there's just uncertainty about who's going to be pitching. So I probably can't give a take on it. Oh, I think it looks like a guy named Brian Hoeing. I can't say I know much about this guy. Have you heard of him before? I mean,
I've seen the name. I mean, I can look into him a little bit, but this is my issue with the Dodgers. And this is like kind of the thing I felt like I noticed a lot this year is like their prices are just like so crazy high. And like, yeah, you can get in some of these other guys like Trace and Bellinger and Barnes, but it's just not that easy to like make the teams work when you jam them all in there. You know what I mean? And like, you have to make sure not only does they go off, but you get the guys right as well. Let me see if I can find him.
Yeah, it's Brian Hoeing pitching for Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp right now. That sounds interesting.
He does not sound good, so I'd say that.
Yeah, he's allowing a 4.25 ERA, 9-6 win-loss record. Has pitched 20 games, 70 strikeouts. I mean, I don't think he looks that good just looking at these stats initially. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably have to dig into this further and then I'll post like my thoughts in the Discord or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, I think the Dodgers are definitely in play as they always are, but I don't think they'll make the cut for like me as like a top 3 stack. I'll put it at that for now.
Yeah, the thing I typically do with the Dodgers is like whenever I'm considering them or even any expensive offense, I go into SaberSim, right? I make sure I got the 5-man stack rule on. I run the 5-man stack and then I just see, well, what's it do? And I'm like, well, if it just gives me all the bottom of the order guys, I don't like it. Maybe it's not giving me the right pitchers that I want. Like yesterday, I wouldn't have minded like a Dodger stack because I like some of those cheap pitchers. I know DC on the premium show, he talked up Sandoval. One reason to go sign up at Run Pure Sports. Use that code NFL15, get you 15% off for life. If you sign up and you stick with us. DC was all over Sandoval. I mean, I like Tyler Anderson. He was okay. Wasn't as good as Sandoval. He absolutely crushed. Also like Brady Singer. He got the job done. So that cheaper pitcher route could have unlocked getting to that stack. And then obviously if the Dodgers then go off, you're in great shape. So that's my problem with them is the price tags. It just makes it a little difficult for me. So that's why I have some worries there. So yeah, Glock, we got all the games. It's all done. I don't think we have to talk about the Marlins here. Let's go to the stacks. Give the people your top 3 stacks on this slate. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think my top 3 would be St. Louis, Pittsburgh. Obviously, those are the 2 chalkier stacks. And then I think my more contrarian stack will be the Mets. I like the Mets a lot. Obviously, I'm leaving out Coors Field because I plan on likely fading them. But, you know, we've got time till lock, so that could change. Obviously, me and Mangone will be on the Coors page. So just be locked into that and see what teams we're on for the night. But those would be my top 3. St. Louis, Pittsburgh as more of the chalkier stacks, and then the Mets as kind of like a lesser owned stack.
Yep, agree with you on that one, Glock. Before I get to my stacks, I do want to mention, be on the lookout for NFL satellites right now, right? It's the weekend. People they're locked into the UFC, right? They're watching the first fight. They're not scanning that lobby when MLB's about to lock. So there could be some overlay on some of these like satellites all the time. So be sure to check that out. I know Kate Fallick will be doing that. I'm sure you guys will be as well. And let's get all those Rum Pure members at the top of the leaderboards. Also, please like and subscribe to this video, guys. Helps us out a ton. We got 290 watching. We got 113 likes. So let's get a nice push home as we give out these final stacks here for the people. So my stacks, Glock, I'm keeping it simple. I think you and I are pretty similar today. We're both fading the core spot. So, and I typically like to do this. Like when I do fade one spot, I feel like I don't have to get too crazy from there, right? If I'm fading one spot that's got some ownership, then I can kind of just like go from there and be fine. And I'm fading the core spot. And because I'm doing that, I don't have to worry too much about ownership. I can just play what I think is best, look at some positions, make some leverage, and just kind of call it a day. And the Cardinals is one I'm definitely looking at. Absolutely love the Cardinals. They're my favorite offense on the slate. My next favorite offense is going to be the Mets against Falter. I'm just looking at these lefties that give up a ton of power to righties and attacking them on this slate. And then if you do play those offenses, because there are some big bats that you got to get in there, I'm going to the Pittsburgh Pirates, cheap team that you can go to, help make things work. Might add Cincinnati onto my content because of it too, because like the more I thought about it, they're probably an interesting mini stack that I want to consider. When I run my 5-man stack shortly and then update all my content, I want to see, hey, maybe there's a better combination with Cincinnati than Pittsburgh, and it could be more intriguing. So those are some things that I'll be looking at. I'll be in SaberSim trying to figure that out here shortly and in the Discord chat with you guys. Glock, we're at 295 people watching, 124 likes. You tell me. I'm going to make you be the bad guy here, Glock. Are we keeping the plays in the Discord, or maybe you'll be the good guy and give them to the people?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't feel like we've gotten that many likes on a Saturday before. 120 might be a record, I think.
I agree. It's better for a Saturday. So I don't know. It's up to you, Glock.
Yeah, I say we'll give it out. Why not?
All right, Glock. So we're going to give them out. We'll give them out to the people. I'll admit, I'm not as prepared for it right now. So this is what I'm going to do. We're going to stall for a little bit. We'll do one last promo for you guys to mention again. NFL 15, 15% off for life when you sign up here at Rum Pure Sports. As long as you know, just stay signed up. You'll get that same exact price here. So be sure to sign up. We got all the sports for you. Big T's MMA content is up. You know what else we're going to have coming up too? We got PJ Showdown. We got a Showdown show for you guys. We got Showdown content. So you do not want to miss out on that. Glock, Andrew Martinez is asking for my 2 favorite single entry GPP pitchers. How about this? You give yours out. I'm going to check something real quick, and then I'm going to give my 2 favorite single entry GPP pitchers. Who are the 2 that you're looking at that you like the most?
I mean, I think Strider is my favorite, and then I would probably say Gilbert with Cobb like slightly behind. That's just like a mix of 2 guys that you can combine for a nice combo of salary savings and matchup. Like obviously if I had the salary, I'd probably go Strider and Musgrove. But like I said, like these offenses that we like are not cheap, right? The Mets, St. Louis Cardinals. So I do think the Strider and like a Gilbert, a Cobb, or like someone in the mid-range, like a Gray, even low owned for tournaments, would be good options. So that's where I would start. And one thing I like to say sometimes, I touched on in my premium article, when I don't really have that much conviction on like a specific pitcher, what I do in the optimizers, so you go into SaberSim, you hit build lineups, you go to the rules, add basic rule, at least 5 players from, and then like I'm going to add the Mets, right? And then I'm going to add the Cards. And then I'm going to run the optimizer with no rules, no constraints, no projection changes. Obviously, I'm going to change my pitcher projections and whatnot to what I think they'll do. But I'm just going to run it vanilla, and then I'm going to see what pitchers it's pairing with my offenses, right? That's something I'm going to do on today's slate for sure. And you'll see it reflected in my core. So it's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's kind of the strategy I'm going to take on this slate. And generally it's a strategy I take when I don't have true conviction on any of the pitchers, right? I just let the projection do the work. And then, make sure I get the bats that I want to prioritize. And then I go from there. So that's kind of my plan.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a bad approach at all. And not everyone talks about that. So I thought that was good. For me, so I think my lean would be, I'd be getting Musgrove in there. I think I like him the most. Strider I do like, but he might be the guy and I'm just like praying it just doesn't work out and then go to like a Dustin May as like the pivot instead. The only worry I have with it is like the more that I look at it, I know Strider's ceiling is just way, way higher than May's. And like, also those strikeouts are just so valuable in MLB DFS. So what I'm going to do is, and I haven't ran enough stuff to know, I'm going to run Musgrove and Strider, right? I'm going to run that combination with the bats that I like and then see what I get. And then maybe I have to sacrifice that $600 to go down to May to make some stuff work. But I'm kind of leaning going the Musgrove and Strider out because I think a lot of people, they're going to go one spend up pitcher and then they're going to go one down to Logan Gilbert. I think he's going to be the next popular option. So that's the approach I'm going to take. If that $600 does go a long way though, I'll be willing to make that pivot over to a Dustin May. Also, before we get out those plays of the day, Glock, buy you a little bit more time. We got starting lineups. We got the Mets, normal lineup: Nemo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Darren Ruff, McNeil, Canna, Beatty, and then McCann. Sorry, I don't know why I said McMahon. That is on the Rockies. Ryan McMahon. Let's go over to the Cardinals. We got Dylan Carlson, O'Neill, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Pujols, Edman, DeJong. I'm not saying Andrew K's last name. I always mess that up. I know it's silent, but I'll mess it up. And then Lars Nootbaar. So that is the lineup there for those two teams that we were talking about earlier. Glock, I'll go first because I know my play of the day and I don't want you to steal it. I'm going with Tyler O'Neill. We both like the Cardinals. I like Tyler O'Neill against lefties. He grades out really well against his pitch types. Give me Tyler O'Neill. That is going to be my play of the day at 4.7K. Glock, who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
I'm going to go with Brett Beatty, third base for the Mets. I think they're slowly starting to become my favorite stack of the night. Great hitting conditions. I don't think Falter has really done that good against, top level elite teams. He's had some good performances, against the bad teams, but the Mets are one of the top teams in the league. And I think they're really going to put a number on him today. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the order, 8th in it, Brett Beatty, 2.4K, gives you some value with, some expensive pitchers if you want. So yeah, he will be my play of the day.
Yeah, you know what that means, Glock? You showed your hand. You're also playing Paul Goldschmidt instead of Arenado. So there you go. You're in on Goldschmidt instead of Arenado. You're now a BVP truther because of that. I'm claiming it on you. But that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the MLB Swing for the Fence show. We will be back tomorrow. We'll have MLB shows for you guys. We'll have NASCAR shows. So be sure to check it all out. Tons of content for you guys over here at Run Pure. For me, Mangone, and Glock, we will see you guys later.